How does a country with just 26 million people, that's less than the population of Texas, become one of the world's wealthiest nations? A country where the average person earns more than most Europeans, where even during global recessions they somehow keep getting richer, and where they're now planning to spend $22.7 billion on a strategy that could make them even wealthier? Australia didn't just get lucky with resources, though they certainly have those. They didn't just inherit wealth from their colonial past. In fact, they were considered an economic backwater for most of their history. What they did was something far more sophisticated, and it's happening right now. Today, we're uncovering the real secret behind Australia's wealth, and it's not what you think. It's not just about mining or farming, or even their famous housing market. It's about a strategic transformation that's turning Australia from a resource-dependent economy into something unprecedented in modern history. Part 1. The wealth that defies logic. Let's start with some numbers that will blow your mind. Australia has the world's 13th largest economy despite having only 0.33% of the world's population. The median wealth per adult in Australia is over $273,000. That's higher than the United States, higher than Germany, higher than Japan. In fact, Australia consistently ranks in the top 5 wealthiest countries per capita globally. But here's what's truly remarkable. Australia has had 30 years without a recession. 30 years. While other countries have crashed and burned through dot-com bubbles, housing crises, and global pandemics, Australia just kept growing. How is that even possible? The surface story versus the real story. Most people think they know why Australia is rich. Oh, it's all that mining. Coal, iron ore, gold. And yes, resources matter. Australia sits on about 30% of the world's uranium, massive iron ore deposits, and enough coal to power the world for decades. But here's the thing that'll surprise you. Mining only accounts for about 10% of Australia's GDP. That's significant, but it's not enough to explain why Australians are among the richest people on Earth. The real story is far more interesting, and it's happening right now. The transformation most people miss. While everyone's been focused on Australia's mines and beaches, something extraordinary has been happening behind the scenes. Australia has been quietly building what economists call an integrated wealth creation system, and it's unlike anything any country has attempted before. What does that mean? Instead of just digging stuff out of the ground and selling it, Australia is transforming into a nation that creates value at every level of the economic chain. From resources to technology to services to innovation, they're building wealth systems that multiply each other's impact. Part 2. The resource advantage. Let's talk about those resources because while mining isn't the whole story, it's definitely part of the foundation. Australia is geologically blessed in ways that most countries can only dream of. They have the world's largest iron ore reserves, massive coal deposits, significant gold reserves, and, this is crucial, some of the world's most important critical minerals needed for modern technology. But here's what makes Australia different from other resource-rich countries. They figured out how to avoid the resource curse, the resource curse trap. You know what the resource curse is? When countries get so dependent on selling raw materials that they never develop other industries. Look at Venezuela. Massive oil reserves, but their economy collapsed. Look at many African nations with abundant minerals but struggling economies. Australia could have fallen into the same trap. For decades, they were just digging up iron ore and coal and shipping it to other countries, but something changed. The value-add revolution. Instead of just exporting raw iron ore, Australia started asking, what if we could process this into steel? What if we could use our abundant renewable energy to create green steel that the world desperately wants? Instead of just exporting coal, they started asking, what if we could use our incredible solar and wind resources to become the world's renewable energy superpower? This shift is happening right now. Australia's Future Made in Australia strategy is investing $22.7 billion to transform from a resource exporter to a value-added manufacturing hub. They're targeting renewable hydrogen, green metals, critical minerals processing, and clean energy technology. But here's the genius part and why this creates so much wealth. These industries support each other. Renewable energy powers green steel production. Critical minerals processing creates materials for clean energy technology. Each industry makes the others more profitable. Part 3. The Invisible Wealth Engine: Services and Innovation. Now here's where Australia's wealth story gets really interesting, because while everyone's talking about mining, the real money is being made in places most people never think about. Services account for about 70% of Australia's economy. But we're not talking about flipping burgers or retail jobs. We're talking about high-value services that export globally and create extraordinary wealth. The financial services powerhouse. Australia has become a global financial services hub, particularly in wealth management and banking. Australian banks are among the most profitable in the world, and their wealth management industry handles trillions of dollars in assets. But here's what's fascinating. They're not just managing money for Australians, they're managing wealth for clients across Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. Australian financial firms have developed sophisticated capabilities in complex financial structuring, tax optimization, and international investment coordination. The wealth management sector alone generates enormous fees and profits that flow back to Australia. And with artificial intelligence and technology platforms, they're becoming even more efficient and profitable. The knowledge export economy. Australia exports education to the tune of billions of dollars annually. Before COVID, international education was Australia's fourth largest export industry. Students from across Asia pay premium prices to study in Australian universities, bringing not just tuition fees but living expenses that support entire cities. But it's not just universities. Australia exports consulting services, engineering expertise, mining technology, agricultural knowledge, and financial services globally. They've figured out how to package their expertise and sell it worldwide. Part 4. The Geographic Advantage. Here's something most people don't realize about Australia's wealth. Geography is destiny, and Australia has possibly the best geographic positioning of any country for the 21st century. The Asian Economic Miracle. Australia sits right next to the fastest-growing economic region in human history. As China, India, Southeast Asia, and other Asian economies have exploded over the past 30 years, Australia has been perfectly positioned to supply what they need. China needs iron ore for steel. Australia has it. India needs coal for energy. Australia has it. Japan needs agricultural products. Australia can provide them. This geographic positioning has created a massive wealth transfer from the world's fastest-growing economies to Australia. But here's the clever part. Australia didn't just sell raw materials. They built relationships, established supply chains, and created dependencies that generate long-term wealth. The time zone advantage. Australia's time zone positioning makes it perfect for global business. When Asian markets are open, Australia is open. When American markets are open, Australia can provide overnight services. This 24-hour global business capability has made Australia a hub for international finance, consulting, and technology services. Part 5. The Digital Transformation: Creating Wealth from Data. Now, we get to the part of Australia's wealth story that's happening right now. The digital transformation that's creating entirely new forms of wealth. Healthcare as a wealth generator. Australia's national digital health strategy isn't just about better healthcare, it's about creating economic value from health data and technology. By digitizing healthcare, Australia is creating capabilities in health technology, medical research, and pharmaceutical development that can be exported globally. Think about it. Australia has a relatively small, well-educated population with excellent healthcare records. That's perfect for medical research and drug development. Companies worldwide pay premium prices for access to this kind of health data and research capability. The smart infrastructure play Australia is building smart infrastructure that creates wealth in multiple ways. Smart grids don't just distribute electricity more efficiently, they create data that can be monetized. Smart cities don't just improve quality of life, they create platforms for new businesses and services. The geological research infrastructure supporting energy transition planning is creating 3D models of Australia's subsurface that support not just mining, but renewable energy deployment, carbon storage, and groundwater management. This scientific capability is being exported globally. That's Australia's wealth secret: a masterfully woven system of resources, innovation, and global positioning. But the story's not over. In part 2, we'll explore how Australia is tackling risks like climate change and global rivals to lead future industries. You won't want to miss it. Subscribe, hit the bell, and catch part 2 for the next chapter.